Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of Rants. This is episode 23, and I am Mudcat, the host of Rants. What's up, guys? Um, Today we are going to be talking about, I'll be diving right into it, getting right in there. We're going to be talking about being authentic. What does that mean? It means being authentic. I don't know how to explain this to you guys. Um, so this topic was a topic that was kind of brought to me, not brought to me, but triggered by a conversation that I had at PAX East a couple of weeks ago with somebody who listens to the podcast, is a viewer of the stream, is another streamer who's working to grow here on Mixer. And this person, I met this person, which was really nice meeting this person. And I met this person, and they had a question for me when we met in person. And basically, let me give you some backstory. Basically, their topic of their question they were bringing up was that, um, much like me, they tend to be an honest person, more of a blunt, matter of fact kind of person, and people were coming to them and asking them for maybe advice or talking about streaming, and this person gave them um, a straightforward answer, a blunt answer, about what they thought, which, from my understanding, was something in the vein of what I do all the time on my stream, do here. And that didn't have, I guess, apparently as great of a consequence as as you might expect. Um, Basically, what had happened is they tried to give honest advice, and then basically were told that they were, kind of being a dick, kind of mean. And so the question was, how do I do that without pissing everybody off and alienating my entire community? And then so we got into a topic, a discussion about that. And we're gonna dive into this whole being authentic thing here in a minute, but this is kind of what sparked it. Got into a little bit of a discussion about that. And so they were asking, how do I go about being authentic and giving this advice or this thing that I want to without alienating people that have been around my community for a long time. And at the same time, um, is it irresponsible to do that? Knowing that it may alienate people, and irresponsible in the sense of, am I, as a, for lack of a better term here, business owner, am I turning people away by being authentic in this way? And is that like an irresponsible towards my content? Am I being irresponsible towards my own growth, or doing things that are in the face of my own growth? And this was kind of an interesting topic, and I think I got the gist of it laid out there. It was kind of a lengthy conversation, so boiling it all down into kind of the gist of it there was, the prompt was, it may be a little off, but it was basically that. But so it's an interesting concept, and what I kind of what I said on the spot is that you need to be be authentic in a way that is good for your content, and at the same time not worry so much about what people are going to do or not do based on what you do, and kind of just do what you want to do. And then I think I also said that being it's not irresponsible towards your content. That your only responsibility is to make the content you want and to make good content, for people to enjoy, and that's your responsibility as a content creator. But I felt like that, it was kind of off the cuff, and I hadn't really given it a lot of thought, and so I kind of wanted to dive more into that and give more of my thoughts. So that's kind of the general prompt and kind of generally what I said in response to it. But I think it kind of brings up a larger issue, and this is kind of framed in a way like, because this person was trying to do something similar to what I do, in terms of stylistically. It kind of gets shaped into that vein, but this, I feel like it applies to all sorts of different styles of streams, whether you're that that funny streamer, or that sarcastic in your face, or like a more honest, blunt streamer, or whether you're overly happy, or whatever style you're bringing to the table, personality wise. I feel like this kind of can transition to all of them, but we'll probably stick with the example of this style of content, podcast and my stream, where I end up ranting and giving a lot of my thoughts, unfiltered. because that's kind of the style I've got developed over here, and that's the style that this person was also, I think, trying to implement at least to some degree in their own way. Um, and so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. First off, let me just say that in terms of being authentic, nobody is authentic 100% of the time, right? So let's think about when you go to the mall versus when you're at your grandma's house versus when you're at work versus when you're with friends out at a bar. Like, you have a different personality, a different persona, a different mask or whatever that you put on for those situations, right? You don't act the same with your grandma as you do at the bar at 3 a.m. when you're, puking all over the floor, do you? Probably not, unless you got an awesome grandma. Uh, but like, you know what I mean? Like, we have these different, everything's contextual, right? Each instance of that is us, is our personality, is us being authentic, but not each version of that is the same. We're not bringing the same thing to every one of those situations. And being a streamer is a lot like that. Is a lot like that because while you may be maybe the sarcastic funny guy in real life, and that's part of you, maybe that doesn't translate well on your stream, and so you're not that person on your stream. And that, I think, this is an important lesson to learn, as far as when you're getting going and you're making content, is that being authentic is not the same thing as being exactly who you are in your day-to-day life. Because if I was exactly who I was on stream, then I wouldn't talk very much, like, because um, I don't run my mouth 24/7. I don't do that when I'm just sitting at home, being chill. I'm not quite as engaging, or so it's interesting to think about it like that. Maybe you're a super nice person in real life or on stream, and it doesn't work in one of those other places, like, because it doesn't come off right. So you have to think about your personality on stream and how you're going to be authentic. And in the example of this person that I was talking to, again, I'm not naming this person because I don't know that they want me to name them, but um, in the example of trying to do what I do here, um, this is very much who I am, right? I'm very much a person. I rant in my real life. I feel strongly about opinions. I don't like to see people half-assing things. Like, if you're gonna do something, full ass it. And so, this is very much me. But there are other parts of me, right? There's a part of me that's, um, you know, I think you get plenty of the sarcastic, in your face, blunt part of me on stream. But there are parts of me that are, very excitable and high energy, and I don't bring that a lot to my streams because, for me, that's not sustainable. And there are moments, there's a part of me that's, like, super nice, to people. But if I were to bring that part of me that's super nice to people on stream, to me, that it feels inauthentic. It doesn't. It's not that it is inauthentic. It's just doesn't come off the same, right? It doesn't come off right. Um, Comes off weird, like I'm faking, because I'm just not comfortable. I'm not used to being nice to people, so it comes off as fake. But that doesn't mean I'm never nice in my life. Um, so you have these different personas or these different parts of your personalities that you can, um, bring to your streams, and part of, like, finding out your style of stream is finding out what will work for your stream and what won't work for your stream. um there are and I think that this person was trying to do, be blunt and be honest, and their community, the people around them, said, "Wow, you're just kind of being a dick." Versus when I do it, I usually get some positive feedback, and that could be for a lot of different reasons. Maybe it's the way we say it, right? Maybe the way I say something, I present it, and then I always try to back up and explain it. So maybe it's the style, right? I say, here's what I think, and then I back up and say, here's how I got there. And maybe you can follow my train of logic, and that lessens the blow. I don't know, maybe. Maybe it is my tone of voice. Maybe it's the way my face looks. Maybe it's the cadence of my speech. Maybe it's the way my vocabulary. Maybe it's my attitude when I say them. Like, there's so many factors. Like, in the end, like, I think one lesson to learn about streaming, and when you're starting to, like, pick a personality that you want on stream, and you're like, okay, I want this. Okay, I understand that I being authentic doesn't necessarily mean I have to accurately represent, myself in day-to-day life, but as long as I'm accurately representing part of myself that um is an authentic piece of myself to the audience. And you're trying to pick how you're going to be on stream in this persona. I think it's important to feel out kind of how that's going to be received. um for instance, as you're going, like, you start giving out really blunt advice and nobody's down with it, like, maybe you don't get to be the guy who gives blunt advice. Maybe that's who you are every day in your life, right? Maybe that's every single day you do it in real life, and that's who you are, and that's part of you. You're that harsh, blunt, matter of fact person. And maybe on stream when you do it, it just doesn't work. Just like there are days when I get super excitable and I'm excited about things in my life. Again, if I do that on stream, it comes off as weird and fake and over the top and put on. So even though I do get like that in my life sometimes, I don't roll that with that as my main persona on stream, right? You don't see me, just screaming and hyping things up in the chat, and because it doesn't play well, right? What plays well for me is ranting, is having conversations, is being very focused on those kind of personality traits, and those skills, like, because for me, I'm able to pull those off. And so maybe even though you may do it in your life and that's who you are, like, that's a big piece of you, maybe you don't get to do it on stream. um and I think that's a hard lesson to learn. And that's one thing I said to this person. I said, maybe you just don't get to be the guy, like, and that's unfortunate, right? But if you're trying to create content, it's not always about doing what you want to do. Sometimes it's about doing what plays better, right? Like, for instance, the same way you choose not to play a certain game. Like, okay, nobody watches me play Sea of Thieves. Don't play Sea of Thieves. Play something else. Play something that people are going to watch you play, because they may watch somebody else play Sea of Thieves, but when you play it, they don't enjoy it. Or whatever game. Like, it's the same thing with personality. Like, even though you're doing it the same way someone else is doing it, or the same type of personality, like, you do it with your own style, and maybe your style just doesn't resonate with people, so maybe you just don't get to do that. And that kind of sucks, but I think it's an important thing to realize, that even though you can be authentic as yourself, you get to kind of choose which authentic self are you presenting that self at your grandma's, are you presenting that self while you're out, uh, you know, in a business meeting, with your friends, like, which yourself. And then realizing that the self you want to present, or one that you may choose, like, hey, I want to present this guy on stream, may not be the one that pulls in the followers, that pulls in the viewers. Like, you may have to lean into something else, another aspect of your personality, still in an authentic way, but you may not get to do exactly what you want, if you are also trying to be successful. Um, in terms of it being irresponsible, like, this is such an interesting topic of, like, this whole thing, authenticity, and it's all such an interesting topic, because in a way, there is no right answer. There's no right answer. You could talk in circles, like, should you be authentic, shouldn't you be? um is it okay to be part of yourself? Do you have to be your whole self? Is it responsible, irresponsible? It's um you know again, to me, like I said, like I told this person, I feel like the only thing you're responsible for is your content, is to make good content. But I also understand the argument that, as someone who's trying to pull in an audience, doing things that may um hurt your growth, I guess could be seen as irresponsible. You know that XYZ will equal people leaving your channel. I guess so, to knowingly do those things is a little irresponsible, a little reckless with your content. Um, and it's kind of an interesting dynamic, an interesting line that you have to walk there, um, in terms of being authentic and inauthentic, and choosing when to plant your flag on certain things. For me, a lot of it is, you have to not care to a certain degree. I'm lucky in that, in my life and in my everyday life, like, I just don't care that much. And it's weird to hear out loud, but I just don't care that much about, how people perceive what I do. I don't care what people think. I don't care, um if they like XYZ or not. I'm just going to do it because I want to do it. and I'm okay with that too. Part of it's, you have to develop a certain amount of callousness and not care how you're going to be perceived as a content creator, and then you have to be okay with that, because it's one thing to say, okay, I don't care, and then but then a lot of people get like, oh man, well, I should care. It's kind of shitty that I don't care. Like, there's you can't care about every single how every single person will perceive you, right? If you have 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers, hell, even 2,000 followers, like, thinking that you're going to legitimately care about the how each one of those people perceive you is crazy. Like, if you try to do that, you will go insane. At some point, you need to learn to kind of just make your content the way you're going to make it, and to be confident in the fact that as long as it's content you like and it's content that you feel authentic making, um, then screw the rest. Who cares what people think, Um, and this person was struggling because, they're trying to grow on Mixer, and they gave this advice, right? And I guess it came off the wrong way to this person, and said they were having people leave that had been around a long time. To which I kind of callously said, like, fuck them, let them go, because in a lot of ways, that's the truth. Like, people will come and go from your stream based on something you do, so based on something you don't do. Sometimes for no reason at all. People just leave. So, like, the fact that, a lot of times someone's like, oh, well, I'm gonna bail, and you want to do something to, like, keep those people there because you want the growth and you need the growth. But at the same time, you could do everything for that person, everything in your power to keep that person there, and they still could, like, change jobs, or just get tired of watching streams, or have a kid, and like, poof, they're gone. Like, um so spending that time and caring too much about that is, I think, a waste of effort and a waste of energy. Instead, what you should care about is making content that you can live with, right? And part of that is being authentic. And choosing how you're going to present yourself, because, again, you don't always get to have it every way. You don't always get to present every part of yourself, because sometimes parts of you make bad content. That's just the facts. Like, there are parts of your personality that make shitty content, and so you find that piece of yourself that people would actually want to watch, and it's still authentic. It's still you, and you present that as your on stream persona, as the person you are on stream. And some people get to incorporate more of themselves, more of their authentic selves, more parts, and some people only get to focus on one part, because people only resonate with one single part, versus, somebody else who gets to kind of be more of their whole self. Um, and all of that range, and at least in my opinion, is authentic. It's just, varying levels of how much you get to see as the viewer. Um, there's nothing inauthentic there necessarily. And this is all very, I think, simple to understand, but it's not really easy to implement. It's not really easy to get your mind around, exactly how to do this correctly. Um, so I think at the base level, you have to have a talk with yourself and say, okay, I want to be authentic. This is assuming you want to be authentic. We'll talk about being inauthentic here in a minute, but I want to be authentic. I want to present my real self. I want to be um, XYZ on stream. And then you have to, I mean, a part of it's trial and error, but you have to think about it. You have to try it. You have to figure out exactly, exactly what works, what doesn't work. Again, maybe in your life you're funny, because of, like, your timing and stuff and the way you play off people. But when you get in a stream by yourself, maybe you're not funny. Maybe your humor doesn't land on a general audience. It only lands, like, with your friends. Um, and so, even though, part of you is a authentically funny person, like, it doesn't work on stream, so you don't get to be the funny guy on stream. Like, and you got to let that go, right? You got to let it go, and you got to just, like, okay, that's not who I am on stream. Um, and and that's tough. That's tough. So I feel like that's the base level, is, like, figuring out who you can be on stream, and how that fits into who you are, like, or how who you are fits into who you can be on stream, whichever way you want to think about that is. Um, and then I think if you go kind of the next natural thought there, kind of goes back to this idea of, is it irresponsible? Like, am I hurting my content by being either who I want to be or who I can be on stream? Like, um, For instance, if you take this style where I give out harsh advice, where someone comes to my stream and they say, "Hey, how do I set up OBS?" And I basically look at that question and say, if you cannot Google OBS, find a YouTube video on how to set it up, and do that without asking a question in stream, then you probably don't have the problem solving abilities to be a streamer. That's my first thought when someone asks that. And that's what I say. I'm like, listen, if you can't figure that out on your own, I don't have time to explain every setting to you of OBS during this stream. And if you can't figure it out, man, then there's not a lot of hope for you, because streaming involves a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of technical know-how, and a lot of problem solving for yourself. And that's just an honest statement, honestly. And some people might take that very personally. Um, and me myself, if someone takes that personally and leaves, I'm okay with that, because they're not going to be a good fit long term in my community. Like, the part of me that I want to be on stream, and the part of me that plays well on stream, is not the most tactful person. Um, Always, it's people appreciate the blunt, honest advice from me, and that's what I give, because that's who I am, and that's who I want my content to be on stream, because I feel like making that kind of content challenges people to either disagree and to tell me why they disagree, which means they're thinking and putting some effort into their streams, or it makes them reconsider their position. And I think in either case, me being blunt, me being honest, even if on the surface level it comes off as a little mean, it pushes people to making better content, and then I don't have to watch shitty streamers anymore. Like that's my goal. That's my goal, is and so for me, it's who I am, and it's also who I want to be, and it's also calculated, because that's the kind of content I want to make. I want to make content that pushes people to be better, even if it's just to give me the finger. I don't really care, as long as you're making better content. I could give two shits how you feel about me. Um, but so it's the idea of like making responsible content for your growth is interesting. And this is, I guess, this is actually something I talked to my wife about a little while ago, and she helped me kind of frame this idea. But to me, it's more of like a sliding scale. Like, as you are starting, you're probably going to focus more on numbers than someone who's gone along a while. And that's not just a fact, but it's kind of a necessity. Like, you have to get people in the door, right? So you kind of have to, once you figure out your personality and how you're going to be, part of that is deciding how far are you going to go to get people in the door to watch your stream, to listen to you, to whatever. Are you going to use every part of yourself that you can? Or are you going to use a specific part of yourself to target certain people? um and I think when for instance, with this kind of content, when you're starting out, when you're small, like, doing this blunt kind of advice, like, even though it worked for me from the beginning, it may not be the best route to go when you're trying to pull people in, right? Because you may turn away more people than you pull in. I don't know. Like, I feel like as you're starting out, you need to be a little bit more business minded than someone, say, who's got 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 followers. Because once you start having a regular crowd, you can play around with your who you are on stream. Like, you can try different parts of your personality out, see how they fly. And even if you lose some people, you still have a sizable community, and you'll probably pick new people up on the way. And so it's easier as you get bigger, I think, to not only play around with that, but to um in a sense, to not care, right? Like I said, part of it's like you have to not care and just be who you're going to be and make the content you want to make. And people will come and go, whatever. But when you've only got like two concurrent viewers, like, if you have that attitude, sometimes they'll both go, and then you're down to zero, and what are you doing then? Like, so I understand that argument. And I think probably, if I was going to give some more advice, is if you're not a huge, or don't have a sizable community, like, if you're not sitting at like 10, 15, 20 concurrent viewers, you know, maybe you have to think about this a little differently than someone who's got those concurrent viewers, or that sizable community that maybe until you get to a certain size, you can't show all of your personality. You can't, or you can only show a certain side of it, um, because you got to do what you got to do to gain that initial growth. And then once you get that initial growth, then you can start to maybe work in some other parts of yourself or transition, um, as you get a base who will kind of, be more accepting of who you are as a streamer and a person, and you have a little room to, I guess, not care as much anymore, uh, about how the numbers fluctuate. Because I mean, let's be honest, people will come and go. Like I said, like people, your community today will not be your community next year. Will not be your community in 5 years. I mean, there may be some transfers, some similar people still there, but the bulk of people will kind of. There's a lot of rollover. There's a lot of turnover in streaming, um, and so again, but as you get bigger, right, you don't have to worry about losing one follower or two followers or one viewer or two viewers becomes less and less of a blow to your overall stats. And so it's easier, I guess, at that point to say, yeah, people come and go, it's okay. Like people will either like my content or not like my content. And so that's kind of an interesting point that I think it scales. It's harder when you're newer to have that attitude. And so that's something you have to decide for yourself. You have to decide. For me, it always has been and it always will be that my content is kind of the king here. So I have a goal with this podcast. I have a goal with the style of streams I do, and that informs my decisions. What I want to do. Like I said, I want to push people with this podcast to be better streamers and to take a look at their content and actually make a plan and know what they're doing. Not just show up and turn on the stream and start going, but instead, like, actually sit down and think, like, what kind of content do I want to make? What's my goal with this? What am I trying to do? And so, for me, that's the kind of content I want to make. So what does that look like? Okay, well, authentically, I'm a very blunt person. I'm a very straightforward person. I just kind of say what's on my mind. And so, for me, that's a good medium to achieve that goal, to achieve that kind of content, because I can explain myself well. I feel like I can reason out some pretty good argumentation on what I think. And you know what? I have just enough amount of not caring to just be able to say what I think and not worry about the consequences. And so for me, that works. For you, that may not work. You may not have the right combination of things to make that work on stream. And it's not just this style. Like, again, if you're the high energy guy or the funny guy or the touchy feely guy, like, you have to set what kind of content. I think you should say, this is the kind of content. This is what I want my community to look like. This is what I want my stream to look like. This is what I want my podcast to look like. And then that should inform which parts of your personality that you do present to your stream. And once you start doing that, right, you make a plan, you present some personality traits. If things aren't going well, okay, well then maybe you say, okay, why is it not going well? Because I'm trying to be funny and nobody's laughing. Okay, let me try not being funny. Let me try leaning into something else. And then you may have to go back to the drawing board a couple of times. But generally speaking, I'd say once you get going and once you start having some followers and some success, you really should just let your content drive you. And honestly, you should try to be as authentic as you can be. And just, and by that, what I mean is, I think you should just make the content you want to make, right? Whether, and consequences be damned, like just do what you want to do. Again, and as you're growing, you have to kind of be a little more business minded. You can't just start out doing that necessarily, because it may not work. Like for some people it does, some people it doesn't. But as you grow, just start doing what you want, because people are going to enjoy your content more. You're going to come off as more authentic. And then, but barring some sort of disaster, like if that tanks for some reason, then you might have to say, okay, that doesn't work. I can't do that. That's not for me. I have to focus on a certain path, and try that out. So this is all very, it's all very complex. It's all very high-minded stuff, because, again, it's hard to peg down an answer to this, or not even an answer, but like just a one path fits all thing. Cause there is no one path here. There's, I think, being authentic is being authentic, but how authentic do you get to be? Do you get to be your full self? Do you get to be just parts of yourself? How come you can't be this part of yourself, but somebody else can be that part of themselves? Who knows? How come they can play Apex and be successful and you can't? It's the same logic. Like it just works for some people and it doesn't work for other people. Like I think one thing you can do is you can go watch your VODs, right? And if you're trying to be whatever it is, you're trying to be that nice touchy feely guy, you go watch your VODs, see how it comes off. If I was doing that and I went and watched my VODs, I would be like, ooh, that looks fake. That feels fake. That's why it's not being successful. Because so I think watching your own content, because it's one thing to say, oh, I want to be the funny guy, and you make the content and you think it's funny, and then you go back and watch it and turns out it wasn't really that funny, like because it doesn't translate from what you're doing in your office or your stream room or whatever. It doesn't translate through the camera because you don't have the right inflection, you don't have the right facial expressions, you don't have the right whatever. Like maybe it just doesn't work because it doesn't translate well. And so you're like, okay, I don't know how to translate that. So maybe you have to learn to translate it, or you have to go back to the drawing board again and lean into another aspect of your personality on stream, and just say, hey, okay, I guess I'm not the funny guy, or I'm not the guy who doles out the hard knock advice, like you know. And that's hard. That's hard. It's something that I think some people have to think a lot about, and I think it's something that some people don't have to think anything about, because some people just they roll with it and it just works for them. And other people have to be a little more choosy about what they present. It kind of just depends on your personality and how that reads through a camera and through a microphone. Like um, so it's interesting. And again, being the idea of being responsible. I think as you're smaller, I guess if I had to think about it and say it out again, like I think you do have to be a little bit more. I don't know if responsible is the right word, but like you have to be a little bit more methodical, a little more choosy about what you do early on, because it takes. You don't want to turn people away early on. Even though I've said like, hey, you need to prune your community, you need to, when you're just getting going, man, you just need to pull in numbers, right? You just need follows, and then once you get to a certain size, then you can start sifting through all that, like. Um, so being authentic, I think, is important if you're going to be an authentic streamer, right? If you're going to just be you on stream. Now being inauthentic is a whole nother animal. I don't think being inauthentic is bad. I just think, for instance, the easy inauthenticity is playing a character, right? Everyone knows that's a character. You're being a Doctor Disrespect or whatever, or you're being over the top or something, like in some way. Like everyone knows that's put on, and they watch it knowing full well like nobody's. Yeah, that's not you as a person, but I don't care because it's entertaining. And I'm here to see the entertainment. I'm not here to see you, which is a whole different type of stream. But even in terms of being inauthentic, as in being something you're not on stream, I think is still okay. Like if you are a low energy person, but on stream you come in and you just blow it out of the water, you're high energy, just like screaming and yelling and making loud noises and jokes, and it's just hype, 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 hype. Maybe that's not really you, but maybe you can pull it off on stream. You know what I mean? Like maybe you can, it's the same way an actor pulls off a role. Like, and again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if you're going to be inauthentic on stream, right, and you're going to be something you're not naturally, and it's something that you're not ever, that's like not even a part of your personality, I think you have to be comfortable with the idea that someday people will find out, right? Someday you're going to go to a convention. People are going to realize that even though you're the really nice guy on stream, you're just a fucking dick to everybody in real life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because again, you are portraying something on stream for an entertainment value. Again, it's providing entertainment for some people, but you have to be okay with people finding out that that's not who you are. So if you're going to be authentic, you definitely have to lean into that not caring thing, because whether it's, hey, you're really funny on stream, but you are not funny in real life, or you're nice, or you're really mean on stream and you're really nice in real life, stuff like that. You have to if you're going to go that route, or if you're high energy on stream and low energy in real life, like people are going to find out, and you have to be okay. You have to be able to live with the fact that people are going to know that your persona is fake. That you're just putting it on. You're putting on a character, even though it's not really like a character. You're not like dressing up and pretending to be a fake person. You're still putting on like a character personality, right? Like that's not really you. Kind of just depends what you want. So I don't think there's anything wrong with being inauthentic, because there's entertainment value in being inauthentic. But the only thing I don't think you should do is, in terms of authenticity, is portray yourself as authentic and then inauthentically be authentic, you know, like um be like, oh, this is who I am in real life, and then turns out that's not you at all. Like, okay, then you're just lying and being misleading. And I think that's a little unethical, but um you know, as long as you're not making promises to people, like being inauthentic's not really an issue for me, because you know, this is entertainment. Um but I just thought this was a I thought this was an interesting topic, and this is a hard topic to talk about. I'll be honest with you guys. Out of every episode I've done, I think this is the hardest one to like peg down with like a here's a concrete advice that I have. Here's or like concrete ideas I have about it, because it is so fluid and it's from person to person. Like everyone has a different personality, and like you know, I could say, hey, just be yourself, be authentic, make the content you want to make, and be 100% you, and that may work for you. And then I could tell it to another person, and it doesn't work for them. And then that person, I could say, hey, be this aspect of your personality, and that works great for them. And then I go down to the line to the next person and say, okay, well, okay, this guy's his full personality, this guy's part of his personality. I was like, try being part of your personality too, and that doesn't work for this person. Like, um and maybe that person's whole personality doesn't work, and they have to be inauthentic and put on a show, like you know, like in order to make a stream work and to get follows and to retain a community. And um so it gets, the wheels start turning on this one, man. And then again, the idea of being responsible, like, do you focus on being authentic and making the content you want to make, or do you focus on what it takes to grow first? I think you got to focus on what it takes to grow as a primary objective, and then, you know, I mean, while trying to be authentic. But then I think then you have to, once you're starting to grow, then you can start working in a little bit more of that authenticity, um, without fear of like completely flopping down to 0 viewers. You know, like, um, it's kind of one of those things where the more followers you get, the more freedom you get in some respects, to be who you want to be and do what you want to do, and the more viewers you have, and at the same time as you grow, like, you get shackled down by some things too. So I won't say it's like all sunshine and rainbows. Like, there are things you can do as a small streamer that you can't really do as a large streamer. But I think one of the positives is that you have more wiggle room. Like, you can afford to lose a couple of followers, you can afford to lose a couple of viewers when you say, you know what, guys, this is how I'm gonna be on stream. You know, like, um and I think, you know, again, then you get that wiggle room as you grow, and that's one of the positive things. So this was a hard one to talk about in person. When this person addressed me with this question, I'll be honest with you, it was, you know, I gave the best answer I could, I felt like, at the time, and you know, it just focused around, that, you know, you shouldn't care so much, you know, just let people go if they want to go. Although what I'm saying now is that's harder to do at different sizes, and depending, you know, it kind of depends how much you want to plant your flag too. Like, if you just want to make the content you want to make 100% from the get go, and you're not willing to budge on that, then you got to be willing to realize that it may take you a long time to build a community. It might take you way longer than someone else who will just, appeal to a wider audience. Because anytime you plant your flag on something and you're a stickler about it, you alienate somebody. That just happens. It happens to me all the time, right? I do this podcast. I have certain opinions. I alienate people all the time. More than likely, people I don't even know about that just don't appreciate that kind of content. And I'm okay with that. And you know, and so you gotta figure out like your tolerance level for that kind of stuff as well. So you gotta figure out, you know, who you want to be on stream, and balance that with like who you need to be to get followers. You know, and what kind of content you want to make, and what kind of content you can make successfully. You know what I mean? You have to balance those ideas, those things. So, it's an interesting topic for sure. I definitely, this is one of the topics that I'm really interested on hearing if you guys have any feedback. So, guys, this is where I'll cut the episode off here, and I have a Discord, guys. I'm really pushing the Discord lately, so come to my stream. It's mixer.com/mudcat, and you can get into my Discord there. Or if you want to support the stream, or follow my links, things like that, you can find me on Twitter, xmudcatx. Instagram is mudcattv, or you can go to mudcat.tv, guys, to find my stream, my merch, my Patreon, patreon.com/mudcat. If you want to sponsor the podcast, you can hit me up there. There's all sorts of places, but mixer.com/mudcat, mudcat.tv. I'm definitely, if you're watching this live on the video, definitely, use the Discord command and chat and get after that Discord, because I'm really interested to see here what people think about this topic of being authentic um and being your whole self versus being part of yourself, and balancing that with what it takes to grow, and what you have to do to be able to pull in an audience. So it's a complicated topic, and I'm really interested in hearing about some dialogue of it. So guys, have a great stream. Get out there. What I'll leave you with is to mostly just make the content you want to make, and try not to worry so much about how that's going to impact people, whether you're big or small. Like, I know that's hard to do sometimes, and sometimes it's not the right choice to do, but um, I think 9 times out of 10, making the content you want to make and enjoying yourself is going to be the thing that leads to the most success. So get out there and try to do that, and good luck. So I will see you guys on the next episode of Rants. Have a great week, dudes.